Da 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 da. Killed the rabbit. Excellent connection. Something direction. All right. Incels. Incels. Assemble. This is my new illustration for today. So far, I've done 6. I've done one every day. I don't think I could exactly say that my style is improving, but I'm certainly trying. I'm certainly getting to try out a lot of different new things, and that's kind of fun. Los Mosquitos. Incel blames Valentine's Day for his awkwardness with women. What? 50 Shades of Chest Pains. But this isn't an incel, right? It's just someone watching incel stuff.
Really scheduled thing. The format that I did last time on the last incel video, just like random other videos, not random, but other videos put together that are kind of related but not necessarily from the same channel, that seemed to be working, so I think I'm going to do that again.
Who's this? What is happening here?
Get one.
You've become that negative that you can't even do something positive for yourself. Something.
Okay, whatever. Do Agora something. May Fiona on incel attacks and fetishization of Asian women. SNI Sunday night incel weekend chat from Mystery School. Copium. He's huffing the copium. Let's check it out.
Hello, buddy boyos.
Buddy
we
boyos.
Are live.
Okay.
It's midday, just about 3 o'clock in my area. I think I said 3 or 4, so we're basically
nice
on time
of day.
from yesterday basically what I said. So here we are. Shout out to the mystery gang for being at 6 people in the chat. All right, get it? Really? Oh, yeah. I can't listen to podcasts for some strange reason when I'm working. I need like some video. Brano.
It seems like too much of a free-for-all thing. Burning Tongue. Music video? Let's talk incels, aunties, and niceys. Up a unicorn? Qu'est-ce que c'est?
Up a unicorn here today in the form of Auntie-corn. That's an auntie, but just more awesome. So, as a woman in my mid-30s or a millennial, I'm basically speaking to my Gen Z sisters as well as the younger millennial sisters. You're my nieces, big hugs. So today I want to discuss the underlying causes of the incel's preferences and why that's you.
Oh, interesting.
And in the process, I hope to empower you to seek finer men.
Whoa.
So these are preferences which ultimately endanger women who are in their preteens, early 20s, and or are neurodivergent in ways that cause what I am going to refer to as sweet naivete.
Don't forget teens. Preteens and early 20s, you're just skipping out the teens altogether. They are very vulnerable. In fact, everyone is very vulnerable. In fact, not everyone is very vulnerable. But I certainly don't think that there's an age group that is necessarily... No, wait, that's also... I'm trying to be the voice of specificity here. Amongst every age group, I think that we can certainly expect to find individuals that are at risk or that are too naive. Let's say, in this case, that seems to be the topic. And I also believe that at every age group or age category, we will find people that are, there's just everything. Now, certainly some age groups have more of any sort of feature or statistic, but that does not mean that allows us to somehow guarantee that if we just pick a random person from that group, that those statistics are going to be the same. But yeah, really, I just like the idea of presuming that anyone that you deal with could be like vulnerable and require special attention. One of the other things too that I remember getting into a very interesting, very heated debate, hanging out in a park one time with a bunch of my friends. Um, some of them were older um, older women, not older women, but they were like mid-30s, and they were giving one of my friends shit he was dating I think like a 20-year-old, and he was, I think, I don't know, early 30s, 32, let's say. And they were giving him shit for it, like she's a bimbo, and they didn't know her, they just knew how old she was, but they're presuming that she's stupid, and that he's sacrificing character and intelligence for the looks, which I guess they didn't feel that good about. Maybe they felt threatened about. Um, but after they sort of after we all split up, I was with this guy, and we were talking about it, and we kind of came across one aspect of uh, you know to generalize younger people, but he was just talking about this girl. He was like, you know what? They're not wrong. Like, this girl that I'm dating, it's like she's just essentially starting college. Like, she doesn't have as much life experience in that sense. She is kind of like naive. But we were talking about it for a while, and it really seemed like one of the things that he really liked about her was that she was just like easygoing, open-minded, optimistic about the future. And the more we talked about it, the more we sort of compared, you know, like his girlfriend to these girls that we were hanging out with, the more it seemed like what really stood out was, I think I kind of touched on this yesterday, just the the fact that for people in general, the longer you're alive for, well, the more likely that things are going to build up in your life. And if you have really healthy habits, and if you save, if you save 10% of your paycheck every week or whatever, then as time goes on, chances are you're going to be one of these people that gets richer and richer with time. But if you generally do a poor job managing money every week, then chances are as you get older, you're going to get more and more broke, and then you're going to end up homeless or something. Like, time doesn't guarantee that you go in a particular direction, but certainly the little things that you encounter have the sort of opportunity to like add up over time. And yeah, so like as people age, certainly they can accumulate wisdom and knowledge and become smarter and more, knowledgeable. Kind of, I think that was kind of the case these girls were claiming for themselves. But a lot of time that also comes with like a cynicism or a pessimistic outlook towards the future. You grow older, and you just pick up scars, and you pick up damage, and just get this kind of sour attitude about life. Um, I wonder, like, when I meet older people like in their 60s, 70s, 80s, and I talk to them, because I just like chatting everyone up, I guess. But often I meet people that are like really happy and easygoing and nice, and I often wonder, like, are old people just in general really nice and happy? Do people mellow with age, or is it just that the sample set that I'm working with, like out of all the old people that I meet, is it just the case that the people who were miserable and cynical and apathetic, that either they've like passed away already, or they're not even going outside anymore. They're shut-ins. It's like I don't get to meet everyone and have an opinion. But yeah. So one aspect about that, like, on the flip side of like naivete and inexperience, often is like the unbound optimism about uh, all the great opportunities the future could bring. But anyway, let's continue on T-Cord.
Because some of us still qualify as these things even though we age beyond preteens and early 20s. I'm going to speak on these things as a routine victim of this problem in our society. Oddly enough, as much as I love myself, for most of my life I have been the embodiment of all three of these problematic tropes. The preferences of incels are rooted in insecurity and fear. Allow me to explain what I've learned. Born Sexy Yesterday is a media trope found throughout pop culture where a woman is fully sexy, gifted with some superior level of ability, and childlike. And it was important for me to use the word childlike instead of childish because there are different connotations here.
Sure.
Incels. Incel means involuntary celibate, as in I would be sexually active if I could, but no woman wants to sleep with me. So, celibacy. Incels have evolved to develop this as a preference. This thing that I mentioned before, the born sexy yesterday, right? I've learned a lot about how predatory these things are, considering these attributes tend to alarm my partner no matter how endearing. So I say that because I have all of these attributes as far as being childlike.
Okay, I'm done looking at photos of children here. Doop-a-doop-a-doo. SNI, Saturday night. Oh, it's another chat. Let's see if we can jump to some exciting conversation.
Ordering men to do shit and to let them choose for themselves. If men want to lay down and rot, by God, let them, in my opinion. Afternoon, what's up, my dude? Any average in the West can see max, so we are in effect all cells.
What? There's just so many terms. I feel like this has got to be like a subculture that just has a lot of Asperger's-y, incel-y, like super high conscientiousness, super high orderliness individuals, and they just like I'm not saying that like those qualities are a bad thing, but like systematic, like people that are like they're about specificity and rules and accurately describing things, because the amount of cell, you know, what was the last one, volcells or something, like the amount of subcategories, like as if incel already wasn't like a pretty niche kind of thing. It's like no, that's just the beginning. Now we break it down into all these different subcategories. POV, slowly becoming an incel. Whoa, HTTPS posted this. I use HTTPS all the time. I think I'm using it right now. Oh. Hey, I was just watching this the other day. Is this just... Yeah, that's nothing. I'm not an incel from Infinity.
I'm not an incel. My internet friends called me king, see?
Yeah, good point. That whole king and queen thing, it's like, do people really... I guess they do, but it's like, if somebody calls you queen or king, how much of a compliment is that? Like, if somebody said, "Hey, you're a good guy," I might actually, I think I would be much more likely to believe that that compliment was like 100% descriptive, accurately descriptive how that person felt about me. Like, this person thought that I was a good guy. They said, "Hey, man, you're a good guy," and now I could feel the amount of flattery proportional to the literal, the words in that sentence are like probably pretty close to how they feel. Somebody calls you king, it's like obviously they don't think you're a king. Obviously they're not interacting with you in any way that is similar to the way that they would interact with an actual king. So how much of a compliment is it if it's just so obviously like an exaggerated hyperbolic term, right? Rise of female incels on YouTube. See, I think Well, let's see what this is about. But premieres in 2 days. Whoops. Yeah, I don't. I think that female incels is good. I think that no, good is not the word, because insofar as incel describes someone who's in a situation where they're like they don't want to be in that situation. So not good in that sense. But I think that a lot of guy incels act or talk about the world, or it seems like their worldview is completely completely ignorant of all of the women that are in the exact same situation that they're in, and maybe even have it worse in some way. Like, I think it it seems to me, and gross generalization here, but it seems to me like the amount of work that an individual can do to increase their desirability is more effective in guys than in girls. Like, if we're hypothetically talking about, and for the scoring thing to work, we have to have some hypothetical, I don't know, bisexual individual that is the judge. There's someone, they could be attractive. They could find men and women attractive, and we put them in a room with a man and a woman, and both the man and the woman are what this bisexual individual would consider to be, they're just ones, right? They rate them both as ones. The amount of stuff that those individuals can do. And I guess I have to also preface that, no, see, it's so hard to use the scoring thing with a single individual because, okay, so we also hypothetically have to point out that we have to point out that this hypothetical individual, they're attracted to masculinity in guys and they're attracted to femininity in girls. There you go. So insofar as the amount of work that the guy can accomplish, insofar as the amount of work that he could put into becoming more masculine, I think the things that require development, the masculine attributes that can be improved with effort, are a lot more accessible than the feminine ones, because there's I don't know, there's a lot of like grace, modesty, beauty, uh, fertility kind of, but there's a lot of like beauty related stuff. I think on the feminine side, and I don't even like saying it that way because, yeah, like there's people out there certainly that prefer masculine women, and there's people out there that prefer feminine men. I guess that would be a good experiment too. We're just fucking doing hypothetical gymnastics here, but I wonder if I wonder if to I wonder if we were to imagine women who preferred feminine men, if feminine incels compared to masculine incels. So yeah, you got a woman that prefers masculine men. You got another woman that prefers feminine men, and they're both in a room with a bunch of incels. And some of those incels are masculine, some of those incels are feminine. I wonder if the feminine incels would say that it's harder for them to improve, to do anything that would improve that score, because one of the only things that they could attempt to do is improve their physical attractiveness, whereas the masculine incels could work on their proficiency, their ability to provide, their ability to demonstrate or to demonstrate their ability to like protect someone. I don't know, those types of, I don't necessarily think that beauty is one of the most important aspects of or the most desirable aspects in a masculine individual. Plenty of people that I've interacted with, both men and women, that are attracted to masculine men that are like monstrous. Like one of my friends, like a beautiful, amazing girl. She was really into that guy from Die Antwoord. And when she first brought up, she was like, "Oh yeah, that Die Antwoord guy." And I was like, "Wait, are we talking about the same guy?" I was like, "That guy, he's kind of skinny, he's kind of scary looking. His face is just, I don't know, I would think of him as being handsome. He's certainly not like he's like really wiry, but I wouldn't think of him as muscular. And he kind of just looks creepy, and he's got the fucking teeth and shit." And she's like, "Oh yeah, he's just a fucking monster of sexual energy or whatever." I was like, "Okay, very very interesting," like. So yeah, I don't think masculinity is the thing that demands, beauty, symmetry, things like that. It's like the underlying qualities are disagreeableness, low neuroticism, tolerance. Fuhrer or incel? Great Balthazar. Let's have a look. Hold it. The here tonight will be about Mr. Quote for tonight is as follows: "Infinitely died a virgin." Alright. Incel body fat. Alright, he's not too fat. T-pose. Hey, there you go.
Vim fazer esse vídeo para registrar, cara. Ué, essa
I don't know what he's saying. I was always meant to fail. Incel dumb, incel core, dark ambient, depression, suicide. Jesus! The fuck? And it's just sad music. You know what? Maybe incel is going away. Black pill chat. Incel Chad. Go for it. Oh yeah.
Yo, how's it going, my friends? I've never done a solo stream on this channel. I don't know why I am, because maybe nobody's going to show up, because, I got 200 and some odd subscribers.
Solo YOLO.
So definitely should have had a guest or something. Yeah.
He's got an interesting way of speaking.
So, yeah. We got 0 folks in here right now.
All right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Whoa.
Spring loaded. All right.
Natural slasher.
Here we go.
It's because he's got a mask.
That's reckless. Reckless. Shit on that, Charlie Brown. No room for any of us.
Yeah, I'll take the whole space of the planet.
Okay. Talking to Incels Part 4, Unknown Archive.
Oh, I'm some asshole on the internet, and this is Part 4 of Talking to Incels, and I just wanted to wrap it up.
Wrap it.
Incels, you have the ability to get laid. I'm going to tell you that. Even if you're fugly, even if you've got a face like a car.
Right off the bat, I don't know if anyone has the ability to get laid. I mean, just semantics here, but like, does everyone have the possibility? Let's say, but like ability, because it requires the cooperation of another person. I don't know if that falls within what I would consider something that you either have or have not the ability to do. But let's, again, probably just semantics.
Car accident, you can still get a woman. It's all dependent on you learning and accepting the differences between men and women. Stop looking at the world through a lens of men and women are equal. Yeah, it does.
Is that really something that incels do? Thinking men and women are equal? I wonder what he's referring to here.
Not mean that we're not different. You know, black people and white people are equal. It does not mean that they don't look different. It means they have different biology. That is something that is very, very interesting to me. Just like the differences between men and women are very, very interesting.
just kind of, I wonder if this guy would say that the differences between men and women are similar in distance to the differences between blacks and whites. Like, it's interesting that he thought of that as the comparison to make, but yeah, I kind of see sex as being way more of a difference than race. While at the same time, I'm not saying it's everything, but that was an interesting comparison.
Interesting to me because it shows you all sides of humanity. It gives you a better understanding of how society works. If you are raised...
Okay, again, just kind of nitpicking, but I don't think anything shows you all sides of humanity. And then also, I don't think anything shows you how society works, because there's a lot of societies, which, I mean, the differences between societies and cultures is in itself something that demonstrates or can be used to, to understand how different the sexes are, or the races are, for different people. But yeah, I certainly disagree with this idea that there's like one society. I don't think there's even one society within any country in particular.
Raised by a single mother and you are continuously told that men are garbage, men are nothing, then you're going to feel like nothing and like you have no worth.
Yeah, agreed. Or, and I mean, also this is a factor that I don't know, I haven't, or an explanation that I haven't encountered really, but one that I suspect is at play in at least some individuals. It's if there's a community out there that will sympathize with you for something like a breakup, but one of the expected features of members of this community is that they are, that they're losers, they're subhuman or whatever, then I believe that a fair amount of individuals will feign or act or play out those characteristics, will search for them within their personality, try and bring them to the surface or to the forefront. But yeah, I think that's also the way in which people, like, how did he phrase it?
Garbage men. If you are raised by a single mother and you are continuously told that men are garbage, men are nothing, then you're going to feel like nothing.
Yeah, so like garbage and nothing. So I feel like if you were a part of a community that, sympathized with you, hung out with you, but everyone identified as, garbage and nothing, then I think that, you would start looking for those characteristics within yourself, start acting them up to fit in as much as possible.
And like you have no worth. You're going to spend your life feeling that women are supposed to be like you. And when they don't act like you, you get mad at them.
I don't get that
because
part.
now they are acting differently. I'm being like you guys. I'm a feminist. I respect women. I'm more comfortable around women. Women. Upstairs. Biology. Remember, safety, security, and all that comes first, way before looks. Looks are just something for them to identify, looking at somebody and going, oh, that person's attractive. What's happening? They're looking at the face like this. They don't realize they're doing it, but they're adapting both sides of the face. Why? Symmetry.
Okay, yeah. Just that last part. Yeah, I think I think a lot of people, both men and women, but I think a lot of people project their own experience when, like, the experience that I have when I see a woman that has some kind of look that I consider to be extremely attractive, right? The thing that happens in my brain when I experience that, if I don't check myself, that's exactly the feeling that I project onto everyone else when I presume when I try and sort of presume what they're experiencing when they're encountering an individual that they find attractive, and it's very often not the case. And I think that I think that demisexuals are a great kind of counterexample for that outlook, where it's for a lot of people, men and women, they'll look at you and they have no primary experience of attraction based on aesthetics. And then as they hang out with you, as they get to know you, they often develop and often uncontrollably develop like an attraction, and like specifically a sexual attraction based on familiarity and not on any visual aesthetics. And the visual part, they're just like nothing. Everyone just kind of has like a meh response, which it's kind of interesting to theorize or to hypothesize, like why that could be the case, right? I mean, looks used to be a thing that wasn't like it was certainly difficult to alter looks when people weren't even aware, like proto-humans, or like proto-homo sapiens and stuff, before they realized, before they were able to abstract that, like, what we call looks, attractiveness, whatever, before that was a thing. If you can't identify it, well, then you can't improve it. You can't sharpen it like a tool, right? Then as like even before makeup, even just being aware to some degree that your appearance, could be effective, it could be more effective, it could be less effective, just allows for people to like posture and pose. Like those kinds of things are like a primitive form of makeup, or they take advantage of the recognition of the same thing. And then makeup, and then certainly like we're in an era of plastic surgery, and there's more and more plastic surgery that is being offered for free, or it's paid for by tax dollars, paid for by the government. Like I wonder, like at this point, if you're a guy, but you identify as a woman, in a lot of places the government will pay for the kind of surgery that is, needed, required, for you to be able to sync up with how you feel you should be. I wonder if at some point in the future, like, this will also encompass, well, I feel beautiful, but I look like this. So something needs to be done, and okay, government will pay for plastic surgery to make you look beautiful. Or like, I feel like I have a smile that radiates. I personally like talking about myself. I have relatively crooked teeth. But I don't feel like I do. I feel like I have a radiant smile that communicates my joy with the world. But then I smile, and sometimes people go, "Oh, he's got that, one of his teeth kind of sticks out." So surgery, please. All these surgeries, they don't affect us on. They don't affect our genes. right? There was a pretty crazy court case, pretty crazy lawsuit where a guy divorced his wife because she didn't tell him that the way she looked was a byproduct of plastic surgeries, and quite a bit of plastic surgery. She had spent, if I'm not mistaken, like hundreds of thousands of dollars making herself look beautiful. And he was a pretty good looking guy. And then they got married, and then he was planning on, he wanted to have kids. And then he saw a photo of what she looked like before the plastic surgeries. And now all of a sudden he was like, well, those are the genes that the child is going to inherit. The child isn't going to inherit some fucking post plastic surgery memes, you know? And so then he was like, well, you liked me, and I wanted to have kids with this thing that I thought was you, but it turns out if I have kids genetically, I'll be having kids with, you know, that thing. And like it held up in court. The judge was like, yep, good point, you know. If you have genes, I guess I don't want to say good genes or bad genes, but if you have genes that someone considers undesirable and then you do work to cover them up and succeed, they're still going to get those bad genes. So I wonder if that whole demisexual thing might be an adaptation to, if it's evolution essentially going like, look, at this point, how a person looks can no longer be trusted as an indicator of their genetic fitness, or at least their genetic fitness insofar as it applies to looks, which obviously isn't, you know, it's like, okay, you might have the genes for a symmetrical face, a sculpted chin or something, but you could also, maybe you also have the genes for fucking, I don't know, early onset heart disease or some shit, you know, can't tell that from your face. But yeah, but I wonder if the demisexuals are like sort of hedging against the potential for those things to be disguised. Not sure how anyone could go about testing that. The ultimate game is no game. Black pill versus red pill versus white pill. I'm guessing he's going to be white pill because he's wearing all white.
I would say that this is a rare case in which the title of this video.
I like is that a Wu-Tang t-shirt, but it's black and white. I always wanted a black and white Wu-Tang shirt. They're always yellow. Not a big fan of
the
yellow.
The title of this live stream tells you a great deal about what you need to know in terms of the intellectual background bringing me up to inspiring me to hit the record button and record this statement. Okay? I have seen black pill discussion on the internet. I have seen red pill discussion on the internet. I have seen the feminist critics of both the red pill and the black pill. I saw the whole fascination with the incel subculture rise to its sickening crescendo and come crashing down to the ground in the last few years. And the fundamental thing in the 21st century is that issues and ideas and dissatisfactions in life that people used to take to the bar, they used to discuss drunkenly while smoking cigarettes at a pub, or that they used to take to their pastor, they used to pour out in the confessional booth to a Catholic priest or nun who probably didn't know what the hell to say to them in response. Great person to get love life advice from. You want to know what to do with your love life, go talk to a...
Hey, you know what? I mean, I know it sounds like a joke, right? But he is saying, but the joke does involve him saying advice in your love life. If it was you want advice in your sex life, go to your priest or pastor. I mean, unless we're just looking at it like sex life and love life are the exact same thing. You don't go to a priest for sex advice because he's celibate, he doesn't have sex, right? Which, by the way, doesn't mean that he can't. It's not like he can't give you good advice. Good advice doesn't have to be lived. You don't have to be the guy who invented something to recommend it, right? But love life, and religion and faith, I think are very intertwined. And yeah, joking aside, like I think that a priest might be an excellent person to bounce ideas off of in so far, in regards to your relationship with someone, to being in love, to like, yeah, the kind of faith in that relationship, what it's based on, what's the point, like could be a great idea. I'm gonna go do it.
Priest at church. That's great. People are now coming out on the internet and commiserating. And I think among the left wing and among feminists, there's this kind of sickening assumption that the disappointed, brokenhearted people who come out on the internet and ask for this kind of advice, that they're insincere or that they have bad motivations. And I don't feel that way about it at all. I think people are really authentically, genuinely brokenhearted, genuinely unhappy with their lives, and they're coming out to commiserate. They're coming out to ask for help and advice. They're telling their own stories. They're listening to other people's stories, and they're trying to make decisions so that they can live a better life. Now, I would say this especially about the black pill.
I'm really liking this guy so far. My one thing I would add or augment there is, yeah, a lot of people are coming out to get advice, to get help, to plan to move forward, plan on how to move forward. But I think a lot of people are also coming to confirm. They're coming out, making an effort to confirm their biases, to confirm the narrative that they have, like the whole thing with the pills, right? The reason why I think the whole pill metaphor has stuck is because you take the pill and it alters you. You've taken the pill, right? Once you've taken the pill, or at least to reference, the Matrix, it's like you can't go back. You've taken the pill. I guess maybe if Neo took the blue pill, maybe they would have tried again. They would have come back a week later, and by that point he would have forgotten everything. They would have been like, "Hey, you want to try this red pill for the second time?" I mean, the first time around. But no, I think a lot of people, when they take the red pill, and then after that they keep coming back, or maybe the analogy would be that they keep taking it over and over. But it's like, here's an analogy. I was talking to a friend of mine that works in advertising, and she said, we were talking about what are those big ads, billboards. We were talking about some billboard that we could see from where we were sitting. We were having coffee, and I mentioned something about the billboard. I was kind of making fun of it for its design, and she said, well, the way I was criticizing it, it was like, if someone had never seen, and I think it was like shoes, it was like Nikes or something. I was like, if an alien that had not been exposed to sneaker culture or whatever had seen this would be nonsensical to them. But she said, well, it's not meant for you. If you don't have that pair of shoes, that ad isn't meant for you. And I asked her what she meant by that. She said that a lot of advertising is intended for the people that have already bought the product. And I thought that sounded really weird and kind of nonsensical, because it's like, well, don't you want to advertise it to get new consumers? And she said that the best advertisements are people using the product, and especially people using the product with confidence. And the way you give people that have the product already confidence is you reinforce their confidence with their own decision to buy the product by showing them reinforcing imagery. So they already have the shoes, and then you show them a big billboard that's like, yes, these are the best shoes. You made the right choice. And then they're like, yeah. And now they look confident, and now they're gonna draw people's attention to their shoes. They're gonna, they will embrace the idea that these shoes are a great thing, and that's the thing that's gonna contribute to more sales. So I think that with a lot of, let's say we're using red pill for example, it's like you've taken the red pill, And now you keep coming back to the community to keep reestablishing the validity of that choice. And I think one of the kind of potentially harmful ways in which this is done is if you took the red pill because a woman hurt you, you might start coming back over and over and over to keep consuming proof that like women are bad and women are harmful in general. And you might seek out evidence that supports that decision of having taken the red pill, of establishing a certain stance. And in that case, I don't think that is entirely, because I think so far this guy, he's making a very, I mean, I love how just like compassionate and sort of understanding he's being or trying to be, but I feel like he's making it, I feel like he's putting forward this image that these people are all well intentioned, and I certainly think that there are ways of approaching a lot of these forums that are either misguided or flat out with bad intentions.
People. So we have someone in the live audience now who says that he or she is black pilled. You can take a moment, just tell us what black pill means to you. This is my summary of what the black pill means. Black pill means they're people who are unhappy, and they believe they're always going to be unhappy. They're like, look, these are fundamental problems in their life. They can't change and they can't overcome. Now, it's not all that specific. Some of those are people who say that they're lonely and they're always going to be lonely. Like that's the particular kind of disappointment. Some of them are people who say, well, look, this is the kind of love and affection they were looking for in life. Like this is the kind of relationship they wanted and they're never going to have it. So, there's some other relationship they can have, but not what they really wanted in life, not their fantasy, not their dream. That's the black pill is going to mean different things to different people. Like maybe some people, especially or stereotypically women, I've met women and they had an idea of the kind of man or the kind of husband or the kind of home they wanted to have. They had a fantasy, and then at some point they get black pilled because they realize they can't have that. Now that doesn't mean they can't have sex at all, but it means they can't have the particular kind of sex with a particular kind of person that wanted to have the particular kind of.
Yeah. I like this guy. Whoa, Jesus, 12,000 subscribers. And comments are turned off. How am I supposed to reach out to this guy? Oh, no, bad frame.
Kind of family, the particular kind of life they wanted to pursue. I think a lot of people, even if we're just talking about this in terms of sexuality and dating, the black pill has to do with them being disillusioned with the education system, with career, with what they thought their life was going to be, what they thought was going to be meaningful and rewarding with life. And I'll say real briefly, this video is not especially autobiographical. It's not especially about my life experience. But I saw all this coming together in the most dynamic way at Cambridge University, England. There were all these relatively young women. I mean, a lot of these women were like 28. They were women 28, 29, 30, 31. So I'm saying young, but I guess I don't really mean it. I mean, they're young compared to me now. I'm in my 40s. But there were these women who were looking at the wall. That's 21st century. They were looking at the wall. They were looking at running out of time, right? We used to say in the old days, back in the 1980s, the clock is ticking. That they could feel that big number 30 coming up. And they were so...
I like this guy. I'm going to try and find an incel video, though. 4 pathetic incels running childhoods on idle jam. It seems like this is just people talking about incels and not incels talking about things. Incel talk doesn't know me, no. Eddie Lee.
Okay,
It's
folks, I
Eddie
got a
Lee.
story to tell with a question behind it. Ooh, my asthma's kicking up. Anyway, cue the music. Alright, this was back when I was in college. I remember this little freshman. She's a cute little freshman. A short little girl. She wasn't quite on my radar, but she was a cute little freshman, beginning freshman. So she got a job in the library where she was working near the door, and I guess, I don't know what they did when they had the job, where a book or what, but I saw her a few times. I'm
just like...
said something to her, basically asked her name, where she was from. when I talked to her, it must have been only 2 times I talked with her. But she was all kind of smiley and blushy, but she didn't have a whole lot to say. So after then, I for some reason or another, like I said before, she wasn't really on my radar. I noticed a little bit after I'd see her, and I didn't know why, but I'd spoken to her last. I just got to get from the next talk.
All right. Prince of Fallen. Footage of Keith's mental state by next month if people keep exposing him for being an obsessed incel. No horny. Oh, I get it. It's just that he's going to go postal. Hats off. Gamble $5. Clip from Racist Incel. Check him out. What? It's a guy doing a review.
To a recent Pew research, which, by the way, is animated nicely here by a PragerU animation team, which hats off to them. These would also be considered this conservative Inc. individuals that are supposedly shill for
hats
Israel,
off to PragerU.
That means.
What?
Also be considered this
hats
conservative
off.
Inc.
Okay. Pew study finds the radical left has divided American political... Okay, I don't care. Da-da-da! Feminats. Awakened, not woke. The hero's journey. Andrea. Too long. Not English. Not English. Based Russian police raided and shuts down Camgirl Studios. Bulldog Mindset explains game to face an LMS. Nope, not having it. Bulldog Mindset, that sounds familiar.
Essentially, you can come up with a very direct approach. And if you use a direct approach, so let's say that you see a beautiful looking woman and you say, hey, you're very attractive, I'd like to get to know you. Okay, now most, again, to just say it like that with just very casual is going to give you a higher chance, okay, because you're not putting so much into it, right? Which most guys that are trying direct approaches, I guarantee you, they're not just coming up and saying it smoothly like that. There's a lot more behind it. Okay, so there's a lot more that's being read there. But let's say that you can do that. When you do that direct kind of approach, you are forcing an evaluation at that point because you're making your interest known. You're also putting yourself in a lesser position, but let's
it's funny. My take on, I think what he's touching on here is there are people who, first of all, it's usually extroverts. And I don't mean in the sense that they are really good socially. I mean, they are dependent on dopamine. And that's what often makes people good and experience that social interactions. And then that a lot of that experience gives them really good social autopilot. But anyway, I'm talking about those types of extroverts. They do have the experience. They got their 10,000 hours of chatting people. So if they go into autopilot, they're fine, right? Talk and talk and talk. They don't feel awkward. They don't even need to worry about what they're going to say. They just say whatever they feel like. They have that confidence, or not even the confidence. It's like they've just talked so much. They know that they could trust themselves to essentially open their mouth and something that makes sense is going to come out, right? And then because of the extroversion, like the neurological aspect of extroversion, like the heightened sensitivity to dopamine, these are people that these are the kind of people where like they can go up to someone, they could approach a woman, let's say, largely as a byproduct of kind of chasing the high, chasing the satisfaction of having a good interaction, maybe even getting a phone number, or maybe, having this woman to react in a positive way. And it's funny because also a lot of the pickup artists that I remember from back in the day or in the early 2000s, a lot of them, it seemed like they would only do it to get the phone number, like to get the approval. And then at that point, they wouldn't even call these girls. They were just like that. It's just the phone number was proof that if they wanted to, they could go further. They probably could get laid, but it was, yeah. I think it's a great. I think it makes a great case for what often motivates extroverts, like neurological extroverts. But yeah, but the point I'm getting here is that they'll approach one person, and if that person rejects them, they don't really shut down serotonergically, because what they're used to is they're used to such a huge payoff from that dopamine hit of having someone express their approval or whatever it is that they're looking for. That essentially the kind of outlook that they're used to is they could easily put up with 20 rejections, because if on the 21st try they succeed, neurochemically they will still be at a positive net total. Whereas an introvert neurologically gets very little from dopamine hits and essentially loses the same. So you get rejected a couple of times, and then it's like, what? Are you really going to expect that you're going to succeed the next 20 times to make up for the 2 rejections you just experienced? It's not going to happen. But anyways, these types of guys, and I don't know if, I guess this was Bulldog Mindset was talking here, but if he's that kind of guy, often what I see happening, or what I believe I see happening, is you get these kinds of guys that are they're just wired up. They're just machines that are wired up in this way, which is not to say that they have some thing that no one else could have. It's largely a thing that you can, if you put the time in, you could train the first part, and the second part certainly can be improved with exercise, mindfulness, whatever. But I think there's something that people that are successful in any field often do, where insofar as they achieve their successes kind of automatically without really even knowing or often caring how it is that it just sort of happens, and in this case, or in the case of the extroverts, they might also not notice that the successes they have only happen like 5% of the time. They don't even notice the discouragement from all the failure. They're just like, oh yeah, it's success. And anyone watching them, anyone paying attention does probably see them with a hot new girlfriend every week or so. The results are still there. It's just the costs, the pain that might normally be expected to endure it isn't really noticed. But anyway, when these people try and share these experiences, or God forbid, like teach someone their secret, it's like they have to, or they at least try to break things down, come up with terms, like treat their experience as though there's a scientific process behind it that they can communicate to others in a way that it would allow others to have the same sort of outcome, the same experience. So often they talk about, like, what did he just say?
Let's assume, because you're making your interest known. You're also putting yourself in a lesser going to do that. When you do that direct kind of approach, you are forcing an evaluation.
This thing, use a direct approach. You're forcing an evaluation. It's like, and people watching this that, let's say, believe this guy, people that buy into this guy being successful and who are interested, who are like, oh, you know what? They're inspired to model themselves after this guy. They're watching this, they're thinking, okay, force evaluation, okay, got it. This is one of the parts. But to this guy's experience, I'd be willing to bet that to his experience, forcing an evaluation is not something that he actually consciously engages in, or I'd be willing to bet that when he's talking to women, he doesn't have some process in the back of his head being like, hey, don't forget, you haven't engaged. Fuck, I already forgot what it's called. But it's not like he has a scientific checklist that he's checking off, and it's his memo on what to say in what order that gets these results. This might be a way of describing what's happening when he engages with people, but I'd be willing to bet that engagement is like automatic. It's on autopilot, and then only after the fact. Like, imagine someone who's like really good at guitar trying to teach you. It's they're at the point where it's muscle memory, it's instinct. They can describe, oh, well, you see I'm doing a hammer on and a pull off and then a unison bend here. It's like, okay, yes, that is the way to describe what you're doing in terms that can be communicated, that can describe the thing, but it has nothing to do with when you're just freestyling and fucking jamming and all those hours of practice and expertise accumulate with you just improvising and feeling things. It's like, it's rare that people just describe that. It's rare that people say, look, you just got to put in a couple years of practice and then it'll just come out automatically, because that's not what people want to consume, right? The person who is inspired, maybe a little envious of, wait, is envy the bad one? Anyway, the person who's like, oh, I want to be like that guitar player, right? Teach me, guitar player, how do I be like you? It's like no one wants to hear you got to put in lots and lots of time. Everyone's like, again, generalizing, not everyone, but the kind of people that often watch those types of instructional videos, just like the people who want to be like the pickup artists. There's this kind of idea that like people that are successful because of their knowledge, and that knowledge can be communicated. And if they just tell you what their secret is, then you could have the exact same results. And sadly, I think that's false. But, the useful thing of embracing that outlook, I was going to say that truth, but then I would be a lot like some other people. But the useful part of that is, at least if you embrace that strategy, at least if you embrace that approach, you drastically increase your chances for succeeding and actually getting to the same place that idol or hero of yours is at. Whereas with the alternative, you're probably looking at, entering a rabbit hole of frustration and then coping narratives to deal with why you can't be a good guitar player, why you can't be, an expert pickup artist. And in the guitar player thing, that's when you essentially fall victim to every guitar amp effect gadget manufacturer who's gonna essentially take advantage of that frustration and tell you that, talent is only one purchase away. This whole time, all you needed was just that better guitar. This whole time, all you needed was just that better amplifier, or those fucking silver spun pickups. That's what it's all about, With dating, maybe all you need is that seminar. Maybe you just got to watch more videos by that person, Maybe you got to buy their course or whatever. That's the only thing that's standing in your way, not that experience. But yeah, careful with that. Careful with that frustration being used against you to get you to part either with your hard-earned money or probably even worse, just your attention, your focus. I think I'm going to wrap things up there. Hour. Sounds good. All right. Talk to you later.